welcome to October's TBR Assemble. If you don't know what TBR Assemble is, I'll leave a link up above to the original video where I do the full explanation, but it is essentially my Avengers based TBR game, and this month all of the prompts I roll for this also have to fit into the prompts for Gothtober, so let's get into it. So today we're going to be continuing to use a Scarlet Witch, but this time we're using a magnetic bookmark just because she's a little bit easier to use than the Funko thing I was using last month. And we're going to be starting on 60, which is where we were last time. Let's go roll number 1, which is a 1. So across 1, that is the Power Stone with Fantasy. Good start, right? Let's hope the prompt is going to be a good one. Let's go this one, I think. I went for the head, a book over 500 pages. Not exactly ideal, but we'll go for it. Roll number 1, it gave me I Went for the Head, which is a fantasy book over 500 pages. So I'm going for Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chapeko. This one is about a vampire hunter who ends up having to team up with 2 vampires, and then I think they're dealing with some kind of plague or something, or like a disease or something like this going on. I just know that it's about vampires, and I am just in such a spooky mood right now because obviously it's October, so obviously I want to be reading all of the spooky stuff, so that is why I'm going for it, even though it's not covering any prompt for Gothtober. Roll number 2 is a 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another fantasy. Right. That's a terrible fan, but never mind. We're going to go this side this time, I think. Clint, Let the Arrow Decide. I have been waiting for this prompt for so long. Get it! So as you can see, I've got the bow and arrow thing set up, and I cannot wait to do this. I've been waiting to do this all year, so I'm just like, oh, I get to use the bow and arrow. So anyway, how this works is that each of these sections represents a different book, and whichever one I hit is the book I'm going to be reading. So if I hit the 2, that means I'm going to be reading I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. If I hit 4, that is Lost Girls. If I hit 6, that is Now Conjurers. If I hit 8, that is going to be Dead Girls Walking. And if I hit the bullseye, it's a free choice because it's a bullseye. So let's get firing and see what I get. And that is an 8, so that is Dead Girls Walking, which is brilliant, exactly what I wanted. Next was Clint, Let the Arrow Decide, and I was so excited for this prompt because I've wanted this prompt to come up for ages now, and it finally did. And as you saw, it gave me Dead Girls Walking, which is one of my most anticipated releases of this year because this is a slasher book following a girl who is the daughter of a serial killer who murdered her mother, and now she's gone back to the summer camp where he hunted to try and find her mother's body, and now more bodies are dropping. It just sounds incredible. It's said to be inspired by things like Friday the 13th and Scream, and I love those types of movies this time of year. I'm definitely going to be watching some kind of slasher around Halloween when I'm not watching Agatha All Along and everything else I'm going to be watching, but I will definitely be watching some slashers, so this fits in perfectly with that, and I cannot wait to read this. Roll 3 is a 3 appropriately enough, so 1, 2, 3, another fantasy. Okay then, seems to be liking fantasy this month and I'm not complaining. Gonna go this side. Quake, an ebook. At least that one's an easier prompt. I then got yet another fantasy because apparently the board really wanted me to read fantasy this month, and this time it went for Quake and an ebook. So I'm going for Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White, and I'm just going to read you the first paragraph of the synopsis here. It says, 16-year-old trans boy Benji is on the run from the cult that raised him, the fundamentalist sect that unleashed Armageddon and decimated the world's population. Desperately he searches for a place where the cult can't get their hands on him, or more importantly, the bioweapon they infected him with. That's all I needed to know. It's got everything I've really wanted to read recently. It's got that apocalyptic Armageddon feel to it. There's loads of representation in here as well. That is also, I'm voices for the autistic rep as well as the trans rep as well. I am always here for supporting more autistic authors as well because that is something I'm really passionate about, and this just sounds so good, especially now that it's been optioned for a movie that is coming in the next few years if I remember rightly, so I really want to read this book, see what it's all about, see what I think about it, and I'm just so excited to read this one. It sounds brilliant. And this is also going to be covering the prompt of Dark Desires for Gothtober, and it's actually the first one that is covering anything for Gothtober, and it's covering that prompt because it feels like with the cult who unleashed Armageddon and this kind of thing, they're going to have some quite dark desires to take over the world, this kind of thing, so it just kind of fitted in with that prompt. Roll 4, let's see if we can mix it up and have something that is not a fantasy. 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we're still going on the fantasy. What is happening? This doesn't usually happen. Okay, go this side. Magneto, a morally grey character. I've definitely got something for that, 100%. Another fantasy, and this time it was Magneto, a morally grey character, so I'm going for Skullduggery Pleasant, The Haunted House on a Hollow Hill by Derek Landy, because of course I am, because everyone in this book is very, very morally grey. I can confirm this because I've already listened to the podcast version of this, so I know that everyone around here is very morally grey to evil in a lot of ways, and I'm just so excited to read this in physical form. It is taking me everything I have to not read this right now, because I usually just drop everything to read whatever Skullduggery book arrives at my door, whenever it arrives at my door, whenever a new one comes out, but I am saving this for October, and it's taking me everything, like I said, to not read it right now. The only reason why I'm not is simply because I've listened to the podcast, so I know basically what happens. If you don't know what happens in this one, it's essentially Skullduggery and Valkyrie end up trapped in a hotel that is haunted, and then bodies start dropping, and they've got to figure out exactly what's going on, who's killing people, and all of this good stuff, and I cannot wait to read this physically. I really enjoyed the podcast, so really excited to read this physically as well, and obviously vlog the experience. And then as for the prompts, this one is covering 3 prompts for Gothtober, because you are allowed to double, triple up the prompts. The first one it is covering is Defying Gravity, because quite frankly this is a book so good it will defy gravity, because it is a Derek Landy book, and I love these books so much. I've never given anyone less than 5 stars. It is also counting for the prompt of a book based on your zodiac sign, because Aries is the sign or which is supposed to be the youngest, if I remember rightly, and obviously this is the newest one in the series, and therefore the sort of youngest book in that sense. Also, Aries are supposed to be quite chaotic and things like this, and these characters are definitely very chaotic. And then I'm also counting it for a book that is inspired by Gothic classic, because the title Haunted House on Hollow Hill definitely reminds me of Haunting of Hill House, which is definitely a Gothic classic. And also I was listening to the podcast of this while also watching Haunting of Hill House, and I'm not going to lie, the titles did get confused in my brain quite a few times, so I ended up saying like the Haunted House on Hollow Hill, meaning the TV show, and vice versa, so I'm definitely counting it for that. Roll 5, we're going to have another fantasy, and I've just realised how close I am to the top. I didn't realise I was that close. Okay then. Right. 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're finally getting something new, and we're going on to Own Voices. Right, let's see. I'm going to go over here this time. Druid, a dark book. Oh, couldn't be better for Halloween. That could not be better for Halloween if I tried. Then finally I got something that was not a fantasy, and instead I got Druid, which is an Own Voices dark book, and I'm going to say Spirit Hunters by Ellen O is going to be quite a dark book, because this one is about a haunted house that is taking over our main character's little brother, and this is also going to be counting for the prompts of BIPOC rep, and then also sentient inanimate objects, because obviously it is a sentient house. Then my final roll, please be a 6 so I can get all the way to the top. Come on. 3, damn it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But that's not too bad. That's comics. There we go. Let's go this side, I think. This side is bringing me luck. There we go. This one. Billy and Tommy, an LGBTQI+ author or main character. That is perfect, especially if the character I think is going to turn up in Agatha all along actually turns up. And then my final prompt was Billy and Tommy, which is to read an LGBTQI+ author or main character, and I have 2 options for this. The first one is James Tynion, who is a gay author, and I specifically want to try and read his House of Slaughter and Something is Killing the Children series, because I have read the first couple in the Something is Killing the Children series. It is following Erica Slaughter, who is a trained monster hunter, and she's going around saving children and various people from monsters and then trying to take down the House of Slaughter as well, because they're doing some very nefarious things. And then House of Slaughter is following the guy who mentored her, and I love this series. I've only read the first like 3 or 4, I think it is, and I want to reread those and then go through the rest of the series. So that is one of my options. My other option for this is to then read stuff about Billy himself, because Billy is almost certainly about to be revealed to be played by Joe Locke in the Agatha All Along series. He's currently known as Teen in the show, and there's a whole lot of mystery as to who he is, but it's blatantly obvious that he's going to turn out to be Billy between so many different clues that I will not go into here. I go into more detail in that in my reading vlog for Agatha All Along, which will be coming out in like November probably by the time the series ends and I've had time to edit it. But anyway, that will be when that comes out. But when it is revealed he is Billy, I'm going to be mainlining Billy comics, because why not? I love Billy as a character. I've wanted to read more from him ever since I read the entire Empire event, so there is no better time to do that than when he makes his big screen debut in Agatha All Along. So that is both of my options for this prompt, and either way it will still count as well for the LGBTQI+ rep, as well as a book with a character with a specific set of skills, because with the House of Slaughter and Something's Killing the Children, obviously our main characters have the specific set of skills of hunting monsters, and then if it's Billy, then it's obviously his magic. And then as for my Gwenpool prompt for the month, I'm going to Westview, which means I need to read a witchy read, because obviously that is where Agatha is. So I'm going to be carrying on with my Agatha based TBR. I don't know which books I'm going to be reading specifically, because obviously I am currently filming this before the latest episode of Agatha All Along comes out, so I'll be knocking a few more off this list, but this is a general idea of the witchy things I'm going to be reading around the time Agatha's coming out, and therefore fulfilling this prompt. And then the final 2 prompts for Gothtober are going to be covered by one book, and that book is Elle McNichol's Some Like It Cold, which comes out on the 3rd of October, which is a very different vibe to everything else I've just mentioned, but there we go, it's happening, and I'm really excited to read this one, even though it's a YA romance, which is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. In Elle McNichol we trust. I know I really enjoy her work, so I know I'm going to really enjoy this one as well, and I think it would be quite nice to have something a little bit sort of lighter and not spooky in the middle of all of the spooky stuff as well. So really excited for that one. It's going to be covering the prompts of Disability Rep, because its own voices for the Autism Rep, and then also a book with a ship, because obviously there is a romance in here, because it is a YA romance. So very excited for this one, cannot wait to read it. And then if I get 5 minutes, I also want to read When Monsters Lie. This is by Kyle Starks, and this is following the idea of what happens to those classic slasher movie monsters when they're not on their killing sprees and when they're inactive, which just sounds really intriguing to me and really meta. So considering we are in the season of the slasher movies and horror movies and all of this kind of thing, this sounds like the perfect time to read this. So I really want to read this when I get 5 minutes in the month of October if I can. And that is absolutely everything I want to read in the month of October. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you're reading in the month of October. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a knife emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is going to be filled with all things witches in the Marvel Universe, and Agatha and Billy and everybody else if you're interested in that. Or if books are more your thing, I'll also leave a link as well down below to my bookish Etsy store if you want to treat yourself to something bookish today. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. Until next time everyone, bye!